What's going on, everybody? Going Youper. Little fire going on, inspired by Soul Healing Morphs. He did a little fire video last night. I thought, what a good idea. Excuse me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story tonight, and it kind of has something to do with fire. This is more of a sad story. My son should be coming home any minute too, so that'll probably disrupt the video a little bit, but just wanted to tell you about it. Back in the I guess it was mid 80s, well, early 80s, I was in 4th grade, 3rd or 4th grade. Doesn't really matter in the story, compared to the story anyway. So, but my mom worked for ColecoVision. You know what? It was 1985, and I know why I know this, because my mom worked for ColecoVision, and they made it like a cooler Atari, in my opinion. The games were a little bit better graphics, and it was pretty cool because we didn't have a lot of money, but we had some of the baddest games you could get at the time. With the gas pedals and steering wheels for like the old Turbo game and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. And we didn't always have the power on to play it, but we had all the cool stuff with it. But I remember this year for a few reasons. One of the better reasons was that Coleco was actually the distributor for Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, a lot of you probably aren't old enough, and some of you are, to really know how big the Cabbage Patch thing was, but I mean, people were getting beat up in the stores for Cabbage Patch Kids. Well, my mom was able to get like 11 of them for like next to nothing, and she sold a bunch of them, and we actually had a really good Christmas. And our Christmases up until then weren't really that good. Like, it was like whatever the church ended up giving us at the time, you know what I mean? And a lot of that was chocolate milks and little things like that. It wasn't really, no cool presents. We didn't have all the cool stuff that all the other kids were getting for Christmas. But right before Christmas that year, I used to go to my friend's house, Jack Mercier. And this was in Greenfield, New York. Yeah, it was Greenfield, New York. And but his mom also worked at Coleco, and my mom worked graveyard shift. So twice a week, I would spend the night at Jack's house, and about an hour or so before we'd have to get up in the morning to go to school, Jack's mom would leave to go to work, because she worked at Coleco also, and she worked in the morning shift. So we would go to school together, so I wouldn't be sitting at home all alone all night long. And he lived in a mobile home, kind of far from everywhere. He didn't have any neighbors or anything. And we had a lot of good times. Like, his mom was really cool, and as long as we got up and got ourselves off to school in the morning, we could pretty much stay up as late as we wanted. And back then, that was a really cool thing, because my mom was, in bed by 9 o'clock every night. And so it was cool to stay at Jack's house. The story's a little bit hard to tell. I mean, this was many, many years ago, but it still bothers me. But this one night, for whatever reason, my mom didn't go to work. I don't really know. I don't remember this part of it because it was all shadowed by this thing that happened. I didn't end up spending the night at his house. And that night that I didn't spend at his house, early morning actually, his house caught fire. And Jack was home alone, and it was a mobile home, and it caught fire, and it burned to the ground. And his mom didn't know, and there was no neighbors around. And when the fire department actually ended up finally getting there, and I'm not really sure how they found out about the fire, but they did, and they got there. And when they did, there wasn't really much left of the place. And they found Jack's body underneath his bed. and he had passed away. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, like, the scariest thing that could possibly happen to you is being caught in a house fire. I mean, back then, I don't know if they still do this, but, you know, like, the fire department would come to your school, and, you know, they'd do this big thing about what you should do, and I don't know what happened that night, but I was supposed to be there. I just, by chance, I wasn't there, and I go to school that day, and still nobody really even knew nothing about it, and about halfway through the day, I remember my teacher had a knock at the classroom door and went over to the door, and she just immediately started crying. And she didn't say anything right away. She went back to her desk and she was just straight crying. And I don't know if it's because we were all young or we just didn't realize, you know, like, it was kind of really weird to see a teacher crying, like, never seen that before. And I don't think anybody knew what to say. And so this went on for, you know, a good hour or so. And then finally, over the loudspeaker, they asked everybody to come down to the auditorium, and the principal was up in front, and, you know, we're all out in the audience goofing around like kids do. You know, we're thinking it's an assembly, something really cool, we're hanging out. And he tells us that, you know, Jack passed away in a fire this morning. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't, I was in shock. Like, I don't even remember the whole rest of the day. And it was pretty rough because, you know, I was supposed to be there that night. Usually I am, you know, at his house. And I'm not trying to make this story to me, you know, my story, because this is his story, and his name was Jack Mercier. And to give you an idea about this kid, is he was bigger than everybody else. He looked like he was like a tough, mean kid, but he wasn't. Like, he was just he was like a gentle giant, you know. And he'd carry our teacher's books every single day. When the class ended, he would carry her stuff out to the front where we went to go get the bus every single day. And he was like that with everybody. He would help everybody. And like I said, we have some awesome times at his house. We would watch dog racing on TV. And, like, act like we're betting, and, you know, and whose dog would win, and it was just a bunch of, you know, I know that doesn't sound too amazing right now, but we thought we were something special, because, you know, when our dog would come in, we'd be like, oh, we know what we're doing, we could be rich. And for whatever reason, I wasn't there that night, and I don't know what would have happened if I was. Like, would I have woken up and you know, like, hey, let's get out of here, let's get out the window? I mean, was there an opportunity to get out a window or get out the door of his bedroom? The fire department made it sound like, you know, he got scared and hid under his bed, and that might be how it happened, you know, I don't know. But I can't help to think, like, if I was there, would things be different? You know, would it not have happened that way? Would we both gotten out? Would I have died with him? Would I have been scared and followed his lead underneath the bed to hide? I don't know, you know, I wasn't there, and I should have been, and I don't have guilt because I wasn't there and I didn't save him, and I don't really have that, but still to this day I think about him all the time. Whenever I see a fire, even a campfire like this, I think about Jack and, like, how horrible that must have been, and I don't mean to sound horrible or awful about saying this, but, like, I really hope, you know, the smoke got him before he seen the flames, because I don't even know what would be worse, but it just seems to me like seeing the flames and coming to get you and burning to death would just be so horrible. And a few days later, we had a big assembly out in front of the music room, outside in front of the music room, and they planted a tree in his name. And I always say, if I ever get back to New York, I'm going to go back to that school, and I'm going to check out that tree, and, you know, maybe tell a few kids coming out of those classes why that tree's there, you know, because I wonder if he's been forgotten, and, you know, I wonder whatever happened. I mean, I don't think his mom ever went back to work after that. I know that she had, like, some serious issues after that, and who wouldn't? You just lost your only child to a fire. But, yeah. I don't know. I always think, like, what would have happened if I was there? Would have I passed away too? would I have been able to say, you know, come on, Jack, let's get out of here? Because he was a real good kid. I was kind of a bad kid. I was a bad kid, but I was a pretty smart kid, and I was always really good under pressure. I still am pretty good under pressure. So I'm always wondering, you know, like, would things have been different? You know, if I would have happened to been going there that night like I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be there. And, yeah, so, yeah, sorry for the downer story. I just wanted to tell that story because I was thinking about Jack today when my wife had her family over here and they had a little fire going. And, you know, I've never even told this story to my family. And, I think I should. I think I should tell my kids this story so that if a fire ever happened at our place or something, that, you know, they would know what to do. But yeah, I'm sorry everybody for the kind of bum story. But I do want to tell stories on here, and not all of them are going to be crazy on the edge stories or funny-go-lucky stories. Some of them, you know, are going to be sad. I mean, we've all had some sad things happen in our lives. And believe me, I know there's people out there that's had some worse sad things happen to them than me. And what I would say to them is, you know, keep making tomorrow a better day than the day before, and keep pushing on. So tonight I'm thinking about Jack. And I'm just thinking about, you know, the fun times that we had and the goofy things we would do. And he was a snake guy too, by the way. You know, I remember he had a gardener snake that he caught, and he had this gardener snake for like 5 years. And I remember when I was younger, I was like, I can't even believe snakes live that long. But he had that gardener snake, man, and he took care of that thing like it was a puppy. So thumbs up out there for all the snake lovers. Jack was one of them. And I missed the good times with him, and I miss seeing what he would have become. I mean, I always wonder that, like, you know, where would he be now if this didn't happen? But yeah, so that's my story about Jack. And like I said, I'm going to give a thumbs up to him tonight. So yeah. Alright, well, now that I depressed y'all, I want you to know that I do love y'all and I do care about y'all. And if you have children, talk to them about fire safety. I've talked to my kids about fire safety before, but I think maybe I should tell them this story because I think this story, you know, they might think about that if something ever happens where a place catches on fire or something. And up here in the north, there's a lot of fires and fireplaces and things like that in the wintertime. And I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to tell my kids about Jack Mercier and my good buddy Jack. Alright, so everybody, I love you all. I really, really do. Stay safe. Have a great day, because I'm going to upload this in the morning. And as always, guys, I love you all. See me, bye.